All right, we are going to go over a basic drawing method that I'd like you to use if you are in Mr. V's art classes. And so today I am going to be drawing this sphere, and you can see how it's lit over here from this side. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm going to be drawing here, and how I'm going to be doing it. This printout is not awesome, but I think we'll be able to draw from it just fine. And so when you're doing a warm-up, or even a bigger, more involved drawing, these kind of steps that we're going to go through right now are going to be helpful in drawing what you see and not what you think you see. Okay, so first off here, I've got my plain paper. I've got my subject here that I'm going to be drawing. So before I get started, I'm going to show you some of the parts of this that I'm going to be looking at and really paying attention to. So I see in this area, here's a highlight. Now I'm going to soften this up a little bit and not make it such a, because I'm the artist, I get to decide. Not, such a like a circle point right here. I'm going to let that kind of be a little bit soft. Notice how this is pretty much the darkest area on this whole deal here. This is super dark, this shadow. And then we also have on the sphere this dark swoop right here. And notice how it fades from dark to light. It's not a hard edge here that goes from black to white. So it fades from dark to light, and it fades, it's dark here and gets a little bit lighter here as it goes through here. Notice down here at the bottom of this sphere, there's some reflection from whatever the surface is, and so it shines back on here, and there's a little bit lighter in this area. And those are some of the key things that I'm going to be looking at here. Now, let me show you one thing that that I'm not going to do. So I'm drawing a circle. I'm drawing the sphere, and I'm going to put this off to the side, and I'll bring it back occasionally to show you what I'm doing. But here's one thing that I'm not going to do. I'm drawing a circle. I know I'm drawing a circle, so I'm going to go, there's a circle. I'm not going to do that because when I look at this picture here, I don't see a big thick outline around this sphere. So I'm not going to draw a big thick outline around the sphere because it's not there. So I am going to start drawing kind of a circle so I understand where everything is, but it's going to be more of a just kind of a light, very light circle. And it might not even really show up on the camera. Oh, it does. Okay, good. So just a very light circle, and I'm not going to be using my eraser, maybe at all this whole time, we'll see. But in a kind of a sketch, warm-up kind of a drawing, I'm going to try not to use my eraser at all. Now I've drawn this circle, I've drawn it very light, and you might notice that there are a lot of lines here, and that's fine. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to be shading all over this thing, and those lines are just going to kind of go away over time. And so I'm going to start looking at this circle, paying attention on the sphere where the darker areas are, and those are the areas that I'm going to really look at first. And so I'm going to just kind of start, I'm spending a lot of time looking at the picture that I'm trying to draw, and not as much time looking at the actual drawing here. I'm trying to really pay attention and really see what it is I'm trying to draw. So at this point, I'm kind of roughing in the darker areas of this sphere. And as I do, I'm getting a little bit more defined on the edge over here on the left. Now notice I'm not going like this. I'm not drawing with my pencil this way. I've got my hand back over here and I'm drawing. I'm holding my pencil like this or like this, depending on kind of what I'm doing. And so I'm using my pencil in a little bit different way than you might be used to. And I'm really using my whole arm as I draw instead of just my fingers. So I'm using my whole arm like this as I'm drawing here. Spending a lot of time looking at my circle, at my sphere that I'm trying to draw. And notice how I haven't drawn any dark lines yet. I haven't drawn anything really dark yet. Everything is still pretty light. I don't want to go crazy and start drawing a bunch of dark lines like this that I'm going to have to try to erase later because I put them in the wrong spot. I want to give myself plenty of room to make changes and not have to worry about doing this, not have to worry about trying to erase too much. So now I'm starting to get a little bit darker. So you can see, let's look at the circle here. So I'm starting to add more value in this area, being careful not to add too much down here because I need to keep that lighter. So I'm starting to add more value and let it kind of fade. You can see how I'm kind of letting it get a little bit of value up in this highlighted area. Now as I do this, I'm going to start feeling like a little bit more comfortable with the shape that I've created here. And as I do, I'm starting to get my outline here pretty good. I'm starting to really feel like I have this circle, this sphere, pretty well laid out pretty well. And so now I can start adding a little bit more value. I don't want to get too crazy too soon, but I can start adding some more. I can push on my pencil a little bit harder to get some more value in here. Continuing to look at my picture here. Don't forget that I'm trying to draw a picture, not just a sphere that I'm making up in my mind. I want to draw what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing, and I see that it gets pretty dark even up here on the top. You can see up here it gets pretty dark on this sphere. So I'm going to start bringing some more value in up there. And it comes down in here. Okay, I'm at the point where I'm kind of bored a little bit of drawing this same area. And so I am going to go ahead and move to another area kind of to relieve some of this so I can come back in here and really give it a good go to finish this up in a little bit. But so far I've got my shaded area on this sphere pretty well dialed in. It's looking pretty good. And I can see where I might improve some more. But before I do that, I'm going to start roughing in my shadow here because I want to, because now it's time. I feel like it. And so I'm going to look at this sphere and I see about halfway down is where this shadow starts coming up. Pretty close to halfway down this sphere. So I'm going to look about halfway down. I'm going to continue to look at my picture as I'm doing this. And right about right there is where my shadow comes out, and I'm just lightly trying to capture this shape. And it comes around to the front a little bit, like right there. It comes out like that, trying to capture that shape. All right, so that looks pretty good. Comes around like that, comes down, comes around like that. And so now that I have this shadow here, I'm just going to kind of roughly say, here's my shadow. I can come in and I have my, my sphere pretty well organized, and now my shadow's dark. And so I feel like comfortable kind of outlining the sphere pretty darkly with the shadow. The shadow frames the sphere on this part of it. There we go. Now I might not do this whole shadow because I don't think we need to spend that kind of time on that part of the drawing, but I'm going to at least get around the sphere, the shadow that's around the sphere, because that really defines the shape of the sphere. This negative space, the shadow, defines the shape of the sphere. So I want to make sure I do that. Alright, so there's my shadow. And that's about all of the shadow I'm going to do for this particular drawing, because I don't want to spend a whole lot of time doing this shadow. Okay, so I can come in and get that really sharp on the edge. Notice how I might change the grip of my pencil here so that I can get a good angle with my lead on this edge. Alright, there's the shadow. Pretty happy with that. It looks pretty close to what it looks like in the picture, except for all of that darkness there that I'm not going to worry about too much. Now I'm going to start filling in some more of this shadow in here. So this gets pretty dark. This gets about as dark as the shadow on the table or whatever. So I'm going to start darkening this up. All the while looking at my picture so that I make sure that I put my value in the right spots. So I'm going to less pressure where I want less value, more pressure where I want more value now that I have carefully mapped out where everything is supposed to go. Before I start adding pressure, I don't want to have to use my eraser. Once you start using your eraser, you've had that experience where you've drawn something or written some words super hard with your pencil, and then you have to try to erase them, and it just makes a big mess on your paper. And I don't want to do that when I'm drawing. So I'm just, this whole time I'm kind of bringing level after level after level of value in the places that need more value. And I'm trying to leave the spots on the sphere that are supposed to be highlights, I leave those light. Now I'm going to go around this sphere a little bit. There's a little bit of value all the way around the edge of this. And I want to give that corner there, that edge, and then I'm going to soften it. Try to get it just lightly. So we can spend a whole lot of time making this as perfect as we can and softening our strokes with our pencil and that kind of stuff. And then we can go in and really start making the dark parts dark. So the longer you have to work with this, the darker the dark areas should be. But I think that for kind of an introduction on just some basics on how to draw, this is a good start. Now notice I didn't draw the background at all. We could draw the background and try to shade that in. I'm not super concerned about what the background looks like in this kind of a picture. I'm really just trying to draw this sphere and try to get a good rendering of what this sphere looks like. And so I'm not super concerned about the background. So in a drawing, if it's a timed drawing, I want to make sure that I am drawing the thing that is most important. And then if I finish that and I'm really happy with that part, the main subject, then I might draw the background in a bit to help kind of set this off. But no, for this kind of a drawing, I'm not going to do that at this time. And that is it. So at the end, you can sign it if you want, if you feel like you want to claim this artwork in that fashion. So here is the final drawing. Here is what I was drawing. It doesn't totally fit on the screen there, the whole thing, but there it is. There's the drawing. Notice that I didn't go too crazy in here to get that highlight because I didn't want that highlight that way. It kind of bugs me, that bright spot right there. So I softened it up as I said I was going to do at the beginning. There you go. That's how to draw. There you go. Now you know how to draw.